Yeah,
Beautiful.
but my wife's been like,
Tell,
uh,
tell, tell your wife hello and thank you so much.
yes, yes. So I'll start, and then you guys can
Wait, we
jump
just
in.
want to make sure you can
Yes.
record and we will record as well. And Emily and I will go off camera, and we will just take your questions one at a time until we're done here. And we'll let you know when we're wrapping.
Thanks. All right, I'll start.
Okay, please go ahead.
All right. So congratulations, guys. The season's been fantastic so far. A lot of drama, as expected on this show. But tell me, you guys are shooting in the middle of the pandemic, right? And you're telling stories of the pandemic. Is there anything new that you discovered, Ryan and Jocko, in the process about the pandemic as first responders that you did not, weren't aware of, and how did that move you?
Well, for me, I think I just, in the process of imagining what this experience must have been like to be a frontline worker and be inundated with patients and overwhelmed, and the system being overwhelmed, not having enough supplies, not having enough masks, not knowing exactly how to treat this virus, trying every day to figure out what's the best treatment and wrap, your head around this thing. And just in the process of having to imagine that and having makeup, put the lines on and sort of try to embody that emotional experience, it just makes you think about the reality of it. And, the incredible sacrifices made, the incredible amount of work and dedication and sleepless nights that this must have been for so many frontline workers. And it just, doubled my respect for them, which was already enormous. But just an incredible feat of heroism on a daily basis, really, and here Jocko and I are getting to sort of pose as these amazing figures. But it's really incredible what they've done.
And for me, Art, much the same. We have our frontline workers that we actually work with on set, and we were able to keep in touch with them throughout all of this horrible process. And it was after a while, you start to become numb to all of the news and everything you see. But for me, what was interesting is seeing that first episode of this season. That first, sorry, I was getting a call that was interrupting here. That first 5 minutes was, in a sense, a reset and another eye-opening experience for me. And down to the details of I remember seeing Ryan or if it wasn't Bloom on set, and they had the red marks from the makeup on their face, and I go, what's that for? That's from the mask. And as small as that was, it kind of just was heavy on me to realize how many hours per day that the frontline workers had to wear the masks to protect themselves as they risked their lives to save our lives. So it was quite impactful once the show got started, and I was able to see that in a different light.
Yeah, and man, I've said that in the past, that opening's been, oh my God, that's so good, guys. I mean, you guys were amazing. And ending with bringing Jocko back was almost.
That was the best. That was the best part. That was my favorite part of the episode.
Thanks, Art. Suzanne, you can come up and take a question as well.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming here today.
Hey, of course.
Thank you.
I just was taking some classes last year, and one of the guys in the class, he's a huge fan of your show. He's a guy in his 20s, so getting all the demographics there.
Awesome. That's the money to know.
Yeah, I'm behind on the show a little bit, so I asked some of your fans on Facebook, and so Missy wants to ask Ryan, do you have a particular person you use for inspiration in this role?
Certainly. I mean, perhaps it sounds a little obvious, but the role is based on Eric Mannheimer, who Jocko knows as well, who wrote this book about his experience at Bellevue, and is an amazing guy. He's very forward thinking, very friendly, very down to earth, very human, very warm. He always wanted to be in touch with the patients, in touch with the other doctors. He didn't want to sit upstairs behind some desk and, make calls. And he wanted to get out there and wear scrubs and say, I'm here, I'm a doctor, even though I'm the medical director. I'm not just a bureaucrat. I want to roll my sleeves up. And so many, many interesting conversations with him about his views on healthcare and, a lot of the red tape that he's had to go through to get patients care. And sometimes things sort of seem obvious, but there's so much in the way. And I think that's really what our show has become about, is about how do we cut through all that junk and actually get people cared for and help in a real way. So he's definitely a big inspiration. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, your signature line there, how can I help? That pretty much is everything in a nutshell, right? And
That's right.
Jocko, what has been the most interesting story that you've had to film that you've liked?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one. I think I would say the most impactful for me have been episode 4, I think, of season 2, and episode 6 of season 2 that were centered on the health of African Americans, particularly because historically many of us tend to not be favorable towards the healthcare and healthcare system for many obvious reasons that we've been able to learn about. And so those episodes were great. I got to go to Atlanta and speak at Morehouse College, the medical college there, and show an episode. Ryan, it was a great episode with you, with the guys out there playing basketball in the barbershop. And it was great to bring that quirkiness in there, and they just really, really responded well to it. But any episode that sort of impacts my community, and any community for that matter, is one that's memorable for me.
All right. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne. And you can come up and ask a question if you'd like.
Hello. Sorry. I've had internet issues all morning, so I'm hoping I don't get kicked out. The thing I really want to ask you guys is that your show really this year, more so than many other shows, really leaned into the pandemic and showed all sides of it, and a lot of the sort of horrors of it. And were you concerned at all about doing that? Because there are some people that are looking at television as escapism right now, and they don't want to see it. But I will tell you, I have heard from viewers that they really like it. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that was the question that David Schulner and Peter Horton, were asking themselves, and everyone who's writing and making this show is, how sick of it are people? How much do they want to share that experience? And I think ultimately our show is trying to tap into, as Jocko was just saying, some of the realities of healthcare and some of the social issues that lead people to the hospital, some of the inequities, all these things. And I think in an effort to keep the show honest, we had to reflect this experience that we've all been living through, and obviously the incredible hard work of our frontline workers, but the toll that it's taken on them, on the patients, on the hospital system, on everyone. And I think ultimately, we've made a real effort to even find moments of humor and moments of joy and moments of lightness amidst that, because in any tragic, difficult situation, you have to. So I think it's about finding that balance. And I think, at least when I watch it as a viewer, I find myself appreciating sort of sharing that experience, relating to that experience of something that I've been through, that I like everyone else was in quarantine for months and months and months, wondering what the heck's going on. And I even had this thing months and months ago. So I think ultimately, you got to be honest and try to relate that experience to everybody and connect in that way, I think.
Did it take a toll on you guys playing that role?
For me, my character, he says in episode 1 or 2 of this season that he only experienced 3 deaths at his hospital in San Francisco. And much the same, I wasn't a part of that opening montage. Haven't dealt a whole lot with COVID, but I kudos to the writers, to David Schulner and our wonderful writing staff for, number one, being able to have the foresight and knowledge to know exactly where to put that needle, because they wrote this so long ago. By the time we were airing, I mean, I think that we originally thought or planned that we would be airing sometime in October and November, and it turned into March. So kudos to them for not hitting people over the head with the pandemic, because we're still dealing with so many different issues, as Ryan mentioned, and we have a lot more to cover as the season progresses.
And can I just ask real quick, did it change your process as an actor? I mean, I know there were a lot of precautions on set and that kind of thing, but I just wondered if any of this changed your process internally.
I don't know about you, Jocko. I don't think it changed my process in terms of how I approach the material that the writers have written and interpret that and then try to tell that story. But it did make me ask questions of some of the folks on our set who are frontline workers, or talk to my sister who's a nurse, or Eric Mannheimer, who our show is based on, just the real people who've really been doing it, and just try to pay homage to that in a way that is, you know, authentic and fairly, reflects that experience. So I think there was an authenticity that you know, I don't want to speak for Jocko, but that we all were aiming for and still are aiming for. And I think in terms of process, it just involved talking to the real folks and getting their real thoughts and their real experiences. And then, of course, I think incorporating our own experience with isolation, quarantine, the emotional toll, that's all that stuff. We've all been living that, you know, so that's all there.
Gotcha. And how about you, Jocko?
Much the same. I echo what he said on that. It didn't muchly affect my approach. I was happy to be back and get back, and even in the fun moments, the light moments, I'm picturing the audience seeing these things, and I'm like, I know it's going to lift a lot of people's spirits out there. So just excited to be back and doing what we do.
Great, thank you so much.
And thank you. And if everyone could just hit leave room.
Okay.
Not Ryan.
Not you guys.
Oh, I'm out. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.